Hey, I'm going to be showing off the Atlas product suite today. We're going to start with some pretty basic topics like creating a project, deploying your first contract, interacting with contracts. And we're going to move on to some more advanced topics like writing tests, scripts, and auditing contracts. So let's get started. So it's pretty easy to create a project. All we have to do is type a name. And now we're dropped into our editor. To deploy our first contract, it's literally just one click. I just click run, and this contract is going to get deployed to a virtual blockchain running in the browser. And now I can actually interact with this contract as well. So I have this increment function, which lets me call this, and I can see the contract state change in real time. So if I run increment, we see the stored integer variable updates. So that was pretty cool. Let's write a more advanced contract, and I'm going to use the AI to help me write some of this boilerplate code. Great, so we got this contract. I'm going to go ahead and hit create file. And now we have this, and we can do the same thing here. We can deploy this to our virtual blockchain. Cool, and we can, if we want, create a tweet. Hello. And we can see this tweet got created right here. It's pretty cool. I'm going to actually also add another function to this. I want to be able to get all tweets for a user. Amazing. So we have this new function that lets us get all tweets by the author. And I actually want to make sure that before we deploy this to a real network, I want to make sure there's no vulnerabilities in my contract. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Copilot to do that as well. So we got a report of the state of the contract. It sounds like we don't have much to worry about. These are all not really warnings. No access control, doesn't really matter. Anyone should be able to tweet. No input validation on the tweet length. It should throw an error. We can test that out. Storage costs, no event logs, lack of function comments. Yeah, so it sounds like we're pretty good on this. So I'm going to go ahead and create this as a file again. And we can actually now deploy this contract to a real network. So all we have to do is go to the network selector, and we can click on any chain that we want here. We have a bunch of EVM chains. I'm going to go ahead and deploy this to the Goerli testnet. And it's pretty simple. All I have to do is hit run, and it's going to deploy to the testnet for us. And here we have it. Here's our contract deployed to Goerli. We can see these functions here. We can interact with them. And I can even check out on the Block Explorer that this is the contract that we just deployed. So here we have it. The contract has been automatically verified by Atlas. And we can interact with the contract functions here if we want, or we can actually just go back to Atlas and we can call functions like tweet, hello. It's going to ask us to sign a transaction because this is interacting with the chain. And we can actually go over to Etherscan now to check that this transaction actually happened. So if we head over back, we see right here this tweet method that we just called. We can now check out my get tweets by author function now. We can get my address and get the list of tweets that came from my address. So here we can see this hello tweet that I just came, as well as the address and the timestamp of the tweet. So this is a pretty good tool for prototyping quickly, but what if we want to write a more robust contract? We probably want to use some tests. So we actually have that built in as well. We have the Foundry testing suite available to us, and we can write tests for this contract. So let's go ahead and do that. And so here we have a basic Foundry test. We're setting up the decentralized Twitter contract. We're testing each of the functions that we have. That tweets works correctly, total tweets, and tweets by author works correctly. So let's go ahead and just press run test and see if it works. Great, all the tests passed. What's cool about this testing suite is that even though this is a fairly basic one, we're just asserting some strings and integers are correct in what we expect. We have the full power of Foundry here. If we wanted to, we could fork Goerli test network or Ethereum mainnet, go to whatever block we want and assert values there as well. So it's really powerful to have the entire use of the Foundry testing suite built right into this. To show off writing more complex deploy scripts, I'm going to come over to the zkSync docs. We can see here they have a bunch of tutorials. I'm going to come over to daily spending limit account. This is a smart contract wallet that gets deployed, and links and calls functions on the smart contract. So we can see there's a long tutorial here that I'm not going to go through, but the cool thing is the project is available in Atlas. And so we can open up this in Atlas, call it whatever we want. It's going to ask us to switch to zkSync. And now we can see the full power of Atlas. We're using multiple deploy scripts here to deploy a smart contract wallet, call functions on it, and set the limit for this smart contract account for how much money can be sent. So we can look to see that deploy factory account, set limit, and transfer ETH are all pretty long and complex deploy scripts. The main functionality here is that you have the full JavaScript language available to you to write whatever deploy script logic you want, just like you would in Hardhat. So I'm going to come back over here to main, and we can just run, again, click the run button, and we are going to be able to run this entire script and call all the functions on it as well. So we're going to be deploying a smart contract account and setting the limit of the wallet as well. So we can see here the account, smart contract account got deployed. We funded the wallet, we set the limit, we tried to send a transfer with the amount that was over the limit, and this failed. And then we tried to send a transfer with the appropriate amount, and it succeeded. And now we have this much available balance that can be sent in the remainder of the day. The script worked, and it's really only the beginning of what you can do. You can write any arbitrary logic for as big of a protocol as you want. And last I'm actually going to come over to the command line. This entire time I was showing off how to build smart contracts, but there's another half to building a dApp, which is the front end. And we have a pretty cool tool that lets you get an automatically generated front end that can call your smart contracts. So let's do it. So here we can see we have a generated front end from the contracts we wrote earlier. This is the decentralized Twitter. All I had to do was run npx create atlas dApp and then run yarn install to install my packages. And now we have this UI where I can interact with the function. So I can do the same thing I did here. I can say hello, run the tweet. Works the exact same way, interacts with the actual Goerli contract, and I can run something like total tweets and I can get the value. So that's all I'm going to show off today. We did a lot of stuff. We were able to create a full dApp. We deployed our first contract, verified it, generated this Twitter contract, made sure it was secure, modified it, wrote tests for it, and then actually made the front end for the dApp as well. So it's pretty cool. So hopefully now you have a better understanding of all the things you can do with Atlas.